Great.
Okay.
Can I be unmuted now?
No, you're on mute
Okay.
now.
Okay.
All right. Hello and welcome. I'm so glad that you guys are all here. We are here to help you achieve your goals. And to start off, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Dr. Sarah Morrissey. I am an integrative health practitioner as well as a doctor of pharmacy. And I really love to help people achieve their goals. So today is no different than any other day. And we are going to learn about simple, supportive approaches to help you feel your best. And today is not about perfection or making drastic changes. It's about creating that plan so that you can feel your best going into the new year. So, why are we here? Most of us plan our careers, we plan our finances, we plan our schedules, but we don't intentionally plan our health. And then we end up wondering why we feel tired, why we feel overwhelmed, why we're stuck, why we didn't achieve our New Year's resolution, or whatever that might be. Because without a plan, most of us, we all start strong. We start strong, we've got that ambition, we're going to go for it. Eventually, we lose momentum. We feel overwhelmed, we feel disappointed, and then we just decide to try again later. And this cycle, it isn't really a failure, but it is a sign that your plan and your system was not supported. And so by the end of this hour, you will have clarity and the tools to make real and lasting changes. So let's take a moment and let's set an intention. So if we think about on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being lowest, 1 being highest, or optimal, I guess, how well are you taking care of your health right now? You can share in the chat. You can just make a mental note. You can write it down in your journal, however you want to do it. But think about how well you are really taking care of your health right now. And be honest, it's not a place for judgment. So, what does it mean to plan for health? When we plan for health, we move from reacting to our symptoms to directing our well being and being proactive about it. Planning for health means having clarity, having priorities, and having support. And with those 3 things, we are able to achieve the goals in which we set out. Knowing what you want, knowing why you want it, and having that simple personalized action plan to help make it happen really does make a difference in achieving goals, whether they be health goals, life goals, daily goals. So, progress over perfection. Your health goals might be for more energy. Maybe you want better sleep, balance your hormones, improve and find that healthy weight, decrease your aches and pains, whatever your goal might be. Small habits done consistently compound into those big results. And so, in order to achieve those results, I like to follow the de-stress protocol. This protocol comes from Dr. Stephen Cabral's theories, writings, and it consists of these 8 main markers, right? So diet, exercise, stress reduction, toxin removal, rest, emotions, science-backed supplements, success mindset. Those are the 8 pillars of the protocol. They are not really in any specific order, but there are a few a little bit more important than others, in my opinion. So when we think about that de-stress protocol, when we make sustainable small shifts in each of those areas, we are able to make huge changes in our life. So starting with diet, if we fuel good, we feel good, right? When we focus on the diet, it simply means how to fuel our body, how we fuel our body so it can function at its best. And this is more about stability and not finding extremes, right? We're not doing, not necessarily for transformation all the time, but just for stability and longevity. So the foundations, if we can include mostly whole foods into our diet, I like to think about it as consuming all the foods that don't have an ingredient list. So that minimizes boxed, bagged, and processed foods. Creating balanced meals, making sure we have healthy fats, fruits, vegetables, and clean proteins, and getting that balance in there. The water we consume is extremely important, and being consistent in these daily habits is of utmost importance, right? Finding that consistency that also kind of relates to our why. Why are we doing it, right? Next up is exercise. The more we move, the better we feel. And motion is lotion. I think I use that term a lot. And so our bodies are designed to move, right? Our lifestyle nowadays limits that quite a bit. So the more we can move, the better we are. Shifting a mindset into learning that exercise is not punishment can also help people make that change, right? So even 10, 20 minutes at a time, 5 minutes at a time, whatever it takes to add these little increments of movement into your day will make long lasting benefits. So, in general, short and consistent movement matters more than intensity, right? If we're working on strength training a couple of times a week, if we're doing good stretching even on the daily, along with our steps, and just being able to move helps stretch our body, right? So these little bits make huge improvements. And doing it daily is much more beneficial than hitting the gym one day in the week, hitting it hard, and then not being able to move for 3 days. So that's where the importance of the small daily habits, right? There's a time and a place to, get more intense. But I think for the general public, if we can focus on our strength and our movement, we can make big differences. Stress reduction. The underlying root cause or causal factor in the expression of almost every known dis-ease is stress. It's the invisible weight that drains your energy. It affects everything about our life. It affects our hormones. It affects our sleep. It affects our digestion. It affects our mood. And when your stress threshold has been met, symptoms appear. Symptoms, also known as diseases, right? So if we can do small things every day that help us assess these situations, we can avoid such things as diseases. So, daily reset. We can't eliminate stress, but we can change how we respond to it, right? So, assessing where our stress comes from, whether it be our work, our life, our emotions, our digestive system, our health history, chronic illnesses, old viruses, anything that has been put in our body, etc. That's all stress. But being aware of what it is and how it affects us allows us to create the ability to make the change. Okay. So you can choose lots of methods to help restore the nervous system safety, right? So when our nervous system feels safe, our body is able to heal and function optimally. So how do we assess that? There are lots of lab assessments to see what our body is and isn't utilizing, how we are responding to stress, and how much stress is depleting our body. We can create personalized protocols, detoxes, so many options to help assess those situations. Daily stress relieving techniques to help calm the body, right? And this will go right into the next key point being toxins. So, reducing what our body has to manage, reducing the external toxins that we are exposed to help decrease the burden on our body, right? So, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we consume, the products that we use in and outside of our houses, in our cars, our personal care products, all of those things are loaded with chemicals. And it's not meant to put fear, but to create awareness, right? And so if we can remove little bits of that get in the way, it can certainly help reduce our toxic load. So that last point there, the healing detox treatments, daily habits, right? So you can do lymphatic movements using sauna, dry brushing, and then it backs into exercise and things like that to help get the blood flow moving. All make big difference on reducing the toxic load, reducing our stress. So each one of these pillars, everything is intertwined. And even though I said that, no one pillar is, more important than the other, I think I lied when I say rest is number one. And I feel that rest is where healing really happens, right? Rest is not laziness, it is biology. It is when the body repairs itself. So, sleep hygiene, nervous system downshifting are absolutely essential for healing and optimizing your daily routines, right? Um, so, not only physical restoration, the information processing, memory, things like that, allowing the brain to rest. Literally, when we sleep, the fluid that is in the brain and that is in our body, it literally washes our brain when we sleep. So it's pretty cool. Our hormones, our thyroid function, everything is dependent upon the quality of our sleep. And so strengthening our mood and our immune system. So if there's one thing that is of most importance, it is rest. Let's see here. So, creating sleep routines. The one that comes to mind most here is not eating 3 hours before we go to bed. Don't drink large amounts of fluids 2 hours before we go to bed, and decreasing our screen time an hour before we go to bed. So that's a 3-2-1 routine. Creating that wind down time, helping get our body into the parasympathetic activation, right? So the parasympathetic nervous system is where our body rests, digests, and resets. So very important. Emotions. We're all filled with them. And how we feel and how our emotions are acknowledged tend to shape our habits, and our thoughts drive our actions. So thinking that when we shift our identity and our emotional habits, our health habits will follow. Okay, so creating that positive environment for yourself is critical to helping change your healthy habits. And once again, the first place to begin is with awareness. Becoming more aware of what you think, what you feel, and what you experience throughout the day is crucial to improving any sort of negative self-talk, any negative thoughts, or any negative actions, right? Um, Feel free to become an outside observer of yourself, right? Not from a judgment standpoint, but just picking apart the parts of the day that were difficult, negative, the parts of the day that were positive, and where you made big changes, right? So awareness is key. It is the starting point to your entire transformation and any new changes that you want to make. Going on to supplements. Supplements support your lifestyle. They don't replace it. They are not shortcuts, but they're they're meant to fill in nutritional gaps, right? We have so many gaps in our health and in our food, in our diet. So helping replenish minerals that we're not able to get in our food. The omega-3s to help our inflammation in our body, vitamin D for those of us, most of us, that are not outside enough, and supporting our digestion. All critical things to optimizing. Okay. But keeping it simple, because it's very easy to get in a place of supplemental overwhelm as well. So, keeping it simple, foundational nutrients are key, right? Making sure you're using quality products that your body is able to utilize. That's most important. And having the personalized wellness plan, right? What works for me might not work for you and might not work for the next guy, right? So, creating that personalized plan, not only for your diet and nutrient side, but also for, your lifestyle. So, making things make sense that way. And the last part of the de-stress protocol being the success mindset. This is also very foundational, right? Consistency beats perfection every single time. And something that you have to start getting comfortable with is that if you want to change, something has to change. What is that? Well, the first step begins with you. Finding out your why, creating your how, and getting the, kind of the how to make those sustainable changes happen, creating the support system in order to make it happen, right? There's so many ways to overcome current struggles, and creating a system that creates lasting results, such as like a SMART formula. The SMART formula is common in business, it's common in just different life goals, things like that. But it's where we use the S stands for having a specific goal, making sure it's measurable and attainable, realistic goals, and also goals in which you can put a timeline to, right? You can set, is this something I can achieve in X amount of time? And so the SMART formula is very important as far as ease of use, and that makes sense, I guess, to me. Once again, being consistent. So all those small steps, right? We take a small step out of each part of the de-stress protocol, making little shifts in each one of those pillars, doing those things consistently, and having the support to achieve those goals really does bring it together. That's how the sustainable change happens. That's how you're able to, maintain the choices and achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So let's take another moment here, do a little pause and reflection, right? Once again, back to the beginning question of how well are you taking care of your health right now? What is your top health priority currently or in the near future? So feel free to write them down again, answer them mentally. And think about these questions. Why? Why do you want to achieve this goal? You can dig as deep as you want with the why question. If this is a goal that you've had previously, what has made this difficult in the past to achieve? Um, and if it's a long-term goal or if it's why hasn't it happened yet? Right? What were the obstacles in the way? Um, Most likely it was probably a support system, an accountability system, and then just being honest with yourself, right? So if you think about your goal, what kind of support would make this easier for yourself? Okay. Having a support system is a very strong strategy to achieving goals. And it doesn't matter whether it's with your health, whether it's with your athletics, business, life, daily goals. Having that support system always makes it easier. So, and when we think about the roadblocks that we've had to achieving goals, right? Most people struggle due to the lack of a support, not because of willpower. It's not because you didn't have enough willpower. It's not because you didn't have the motivation, but you didn't have the support. Support system, once again, accountability, creating the objective measures as opposed to subjective, right? So that goes back to the success mindset and assessing your stressors, things like that. So, and having a coach always makes these goals a lot easier. So, to bring in clarity, to bring in personalization, and to bring in accountability, right? Coaching bridges the gap between knowing and doing. And so, most people, I feel, don't achieve a lot of their health goals. There's probably about 5 main reasons that that happens. Being overwhelmed with conflicting information. They don't know what their body specifically needs. They try to do everything alone. Start strong, but then we lose momentum. And or they start normalizing symptoms that shouldn't be normal. We see that a lot. I see that a lot every single day. Oh, I'm just getting older. Oh, whatever it is. Just because it's normal and or just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal, right? So, having somebody to objectively assess those things is is a great advantage. So, coaches help simplify the plan, right? Creating that personalized roadmap. Supporting the consistency, whether that's with, checking in, accountability things, whatever that looks like, whatever the plan may be. The coach's job is to reduce the stress and overwhelm, and helps getting you to go from knowing what to do to actually doing it, right? To do it with support, to do it with clarity, to do it with accountability. Um, Coaches are able to see blind spots, right? Simplify the plans, um, and just help walk alongside you when it comes, when things are difficult, and even better when things are going good. So, um, so looking ahead, every new year is a powerful reset. And I think we as humans in the calendar year tend to think that January 1st is the time to make that change. You can make that change whenever you want. But yeah, I agree. January 1st is a great time to start. So, but planning ahead before January hits is very helpful as well. So, um, I'm all for powerful resets. So, looking into the future, I would love for you to try this. In order to get ready for your best year ever, this simple 3-step plan. Pick one priority, only one. Pick 3 very small habits that will help support that priority. And commit yourself. Commit yourself to 90 days of being consistent with those 3 habits, right? And see what happens. At the end of those 90 days, if you do those three small habits consistently, what does that one priority look like in 3 months? So, following this structure and making those sustainable changes, you will see a radical difference. And so, that is my challenge for you. And remember that everything that we've talked about today becomes easier. It happens faster when you're not doing it alone. So if you are ready to go into the new year, if you want customized plans, accountability, step-by-step support, I do invite you to look into working with me. And so this is your formal invitation to be a part of my health coaching program. We do work together on the personalized goal setting, de-stress strategies. I utilize functional medicine labs. Those are at-home labs, and those accurately guide your wellness plans. They help decide for meals, lifestyle guidance, stress and emotional regulation tools, accountability with weekly or monthly check-ins, and creating clear steps that match your life, not somebody else's, but yours, and things that reflect your actual wellness plan. So knowing that you don't have to figure it out all on your own, allowing yourself to know that you deserve to feel your best. We could certainly look into doing a discovery call. Also, so that to find out if you are a fit for my program, it's kind of like an interview for both of us. Final reflection. Still just hitting hard on the what is your one health goal that you're committed to achieving in the new year? Keep thinking of that one health goal. Think of the 3 small habits that you can make to achieve that goal. And so that commitment to change, hold on to that because that is your starting point. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me. Congratulations. Give yourself a pat on the back because you did make yourself a priority. You showed up to this, and we all know that you deserve it. So thank you very much for joining me.